I'm going to show you how to use PSIcapture to bring in scanned documents, for example, invoices, extract metadata from those documents, and then migrate them over into SharePoint. So just to show you how this is set up, I have PSIcapture here running on this machine. So in the real world, you'd have a dedicated machine plugged into a scanner running PSIcapture, and that's how you're going to capture those paper files. I have a SharePoint library. Right now it has 3 invoices in it that I've already scanned in. But I'm just going to delete everything here so you can see it's just an empty document library in a team site in SharePoint, and it has some columns of metadata, for example, vendor, invoice date, invoice number, and invoice total. And so those ones are going to be filled with information from that original invoice. And then finally, behind the scenes here, I have 3 invoices that I've scanned in. And so these were paper documents. They were just scanned in. Here's one from Lucky Dog. It's got a total amount at the bottom. I have another invoice from a different vendor. It's 2 pages, and it has the total amount on that second page. And then I have a third invoice from a different vendor as well, and it has a total amount at the bottom. So these invoices are different. PSIcapture here, like I said, is running behind the scenes. And what PSIcapture is doing is it's looking at a watch folder. So I have this watch folder configured, and that's where if I was doing this for real, I'd have a scanner putting or saving files into this folder every time it does a scan. I'm just going to paste those 3 invoices in so you can see how this works. And so PSIcapture is configured to look at this watch folder. It uses this XML file here as part of its configuration, and then it will start processing those files. And so it puts it into this temporary queue folder. That's how you know PSIcapture is working, is that it is going through processing those invoices, scanning them, using OCR to create a searchable PDF, and then extracting that metadata. It uses this archive folder here to save the original scan, so if you ever want them, it's organized by date and then by batch number. I just did this last batch here. It's got 3 invoices, so you can always get the original documents back with their original names if you ever need to look at that. So we can get out of this watch folder now. So you didn't see much happen with PSIcapture, but it is going through all these steps that I've set up, that I've decided that I want as part of my profile here to run. So it imported those files. So I was looking at that watch folder. It went through a classification step to look at finding the vendor name. Then it used index to extract metadata, OCR to create the searchable PDF, and then the migration step to migrate into SharePoint. So I'll go back into SharePoint, and now you can see this library that was empty now has those 3 invoices in it. One of the really handy things I find about PSIcapture is you can use it to rename your files into a way that you want, into a consistent format. So I've chosen to do vendor name - invoice number. Then it takes the vendor name that it took from that invoice, puts it into the vendor metadata field in SharePoint. Invoice date, similarly, takes the date, puts it into that field, and invoice number, and as well invoice total. Invoice status is just a column that I have on this library. Any new files by default get marked as unpaid. And now it's in SharePoint. Now you have this electronic document that you can use to share with your team. You can run workflows, request sign-off if you need to from different departments, maybe get an e-signature. Whatever you need to do with that document now is much easier because you've taken that paper format, extracted key information using PSIcapture, and then migrated into SharePoint. So hopefully that helps you understand how you can use PSIcapture to save time and be more efficient. Let me know if you want to see more about how PSIcapture works behind the scenes, if you want to see how to configure something like this. That's a bit more in-depth video, but that's something that we can follow up on. So thanks for watching. Let us know if you have any questions.